As I already discussed in the yesterday lecture that Supreme Court on October 17 is going to deliver a judgment on the same-sex marriage in India. Okay, so on October 17, Supreme Court delivered its judgment, and the basic point you should understand that the Supreme Court declined to legalize the same-sex marriage in India. And why this verdict become very important, you have to analyze with the angle with the topic separation of the power. Here, Supreme Court also told that the matter to legalize it or not should be referred to the parliament. Why? Because the matter of legislation should be dealt with the parliament, because parliament has the duty to make legislation. Okay, so that is the point. So here Supreme Court tried to ensure the separation of power principle, and also Supreme Court here try to recognize the parliamentary sovereignty on these matters. And also we will be understanding the various perspectives here, that is the arguments along with the what is the negative arguments that are going to be discussed in this editorial. So hello and welcome you all to the Bajirao IAS Academy, and today is 18th of October and we are going to discuss the Hindu newspaper analysis. Okay, so what is the article in discussion? So today we are going to discuss about 5 articles, 5 topics, and the first you already know that about same-sex marriage and the Supreme Court verdict and the judgment. Okay, here we will be highlighting about the pros and cons of the judgment, okay, as highlighted in this article. And the second article will be related to the synergetic barrier causing delay in SDG progress. You know that by 2030 we have to achieve sustainable development goals, which have 17 goals. Okay, and within these 17 goals we have more than 150 targets that is needed to be achieved. But what are the barriers in the achievement? We will be discussing all of that, and there is an important point which has been highlighted in the article, like we have the lack of collaboration. Okay, that is one of the important barrier, and how to deal with that we will be understanding in a detailed way. And the 2 article that will be related for the prelims purpose, like the algal bloom and the eutrophication. Maybe you have read in the environment about the eutrophication, what do you mean by it, and how the algal bloom causes the loss of marine species. And sometimes these incidents of algal bloom do visible in the nearby sea areas. Okay, even it may be visible in the lakes as well. So that is the point we will be understanding with the perspective of the environment. And the next topic will be dealt with the India's manned mission on moon by 2040 as targeted by our Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Okay, so we will be understanding that what is the point of it and other details. So before starting our discussion, you need to solve some of the questions for the UPSC mains. And remember, this question I am giving to you, it has been asked in the GS paper 2 2023. So this is the latest question. And why I am trying to give you this type of question, because you can understand that what the pattern UPSC is focusing on which topic UPSC is focusing on. Okay, so try to understand by analyzing their questions. Okay, that will be like an idea that will determine the concepts and the topics to be focused upon by you. So the question is, compare and contrast the British and Indian approaches to parliamentary sovereignty. So recently we have discussed the issue of parliamentary sovereignty, where Supreme Court in its recent judgment tried to maintain it. And what do you mean by parliamentary sovereignty? It simple means it is basically that parliament is supreme and parliament is empowered to make legislation on any topic. Here, when we compare with respect to the Indian approach and the British approach, so British enjoy extreme parliamentary sovereignty, meaning the judiciary is not fully independent with respect to the parliament. Okay, in the Britain, the power of parliament is higher regarding the legislation execution. Okay, so that is the point, and you have to mention the differences. Okay, along with you can also mention the similarity, because compare and contrast means you have to discuss both similarities and the dissimilarity. Try to understand all of that. Okay, so that is the point. And now you need to solve a question for the prelims, and we have also taken out the question from the 2023 paper, and the question is related to the environment section. So what the question is: consider the following statements. Statement 1: marsupials are not naturally found in India. Statement 2: marsupials can thrive only in mountain grassland with no predators. Okay, and you are asked to choose the correct option, and here the question is based on assertion and reasoning. Okay, so here the assertion will be given and the reasoning will be given. Based on the reasoning, you have to choose whether the assertion is correct or not. Okay, so these are the four options and you need to select. And I am giving you some hint that when we talk about marsupials, you can take the examples of kangaroo, which have the habitat in Australia. Okay, and you may have know about the kangaroos that they carry immature baby within their stomach. Okay, and they basically have the orientation in that manner. So that is the point. And also remember that UPSC had given some of the extreme statement in this question. So you have to find the extreme statement and then try to solve the question. Okay, you will be definitely going to mark the correct answer. So follow this approach, you will be definitely getting the right answer. And we will be discussing the answer about it in the last session of the discussion, so please be continue with us. And if you are liking our initiative, please do like, share, subscribe, and also expand in your friend circle so that more and more students may join this lecture series and get benefited from the discussion. Okay, so these are the initiatives we are providing, and in the coming times we will be providing more such initiative so that your preparation becomes easy and you will enjoy the discussion. And also one more request, that be participatory in nature. Try to answer the question which we try to ask you. Okay, because this will help you in the recalling power, in the retention power, and also in the time of revision. It will help you to analyze the questions in a faster manner. Okay, so try to be participatory. Okay, the discussion always should be based on participatory nature. So if I ask you some of the question, please try to answer. Okay, so now we are shifting to the article discussion, and the first article, it is related to the GS paper 1, and you can link this topic with the Indian society. So what is the context? The context we have already discussed in the yesterday lecture, that Supreme Court is going to deliver verdict on October 17. So now the verdict has been come, and you can say that Supreme Court says no to the legal recognition of same-sex marriage. So we have talked about the same-sex marriage. What do you mean by same-sex marriage? So actually the marriage between the two same gender. Okay, like male marries male, female marries female. So this is the concept basically. So this matter was heard by the 5-judge constitution bench, and headed by the Chief Justice cjidychandrachud. Okay, and when we talk about the judgment, basically it was reserved on 11th of May. Okay, so now the Supreme Court on October 17 delivered the judgment. Okay, so basically what was the judgment? You have to keep this judgment in note, because you can refer it into various mains answer writing. First of all, Supreme Court declined to legalize the same-sex marriage, and also Supreme Court said that it left this matter to Parliament to decide, and thus upholding the separation of power. What do you mean by separation of power? We have the executive, legislature, and judiciary. Okay, so the judiciary has its own function, executive has its own function, legislature has its own function. Okay, so separation of power means you separate the powers. Okay, so that one should not interfere into the matter of another. Okay, and what is the purpose of this separation of power? To ensure checks and balances between them. Okay, that is the point. So that means the very important idea of separation of power. And the another important announcement that Supreme Court did, like right to marriage is a fundamental right, is not applicable for the queer couple. And here you need to understand that right to marriage basically is a fundamental right when it comes to the heterogeneous couple meaning male marrying the female, okay, or the female marrying the male, it is the same matter. But when it comes to the applicability for the same gender, okay, so that will not come as a fundamental right, that needs to be understood in a clear manner, okay. So that is the point. So we will be analyzing the pros cons of this article, and here we have summarized the points from the two articles, okay. So that will be help you in generating much points for the main answer writing along with the interview. So now we will be understanding the arguments in favor. So the petitioner who demanded for the legalization of the same-sex marriage, they argued that the Special Marriage Act of 1954 basically talks about gender neutral provisions. So when it talks about gender neutral provisions, so that means that the provision allows two people to marry. So here Supreme Court basically rejected this argument as well. Along with, there was another argument like there is a need to have a protection to the fundamental right for its citizen. And when we talk about citizens, so citizens can be the transgender, the citizens can be the LGBTQ community, okay. And in the recent times, it got expansion to cover the right to privacy, right to dignity, and right to marriage with one's choice. So that is the second point, that is regarding the fundamental rights. And again, what are other arguments, like it prevents the societal discrimination. You see that any transgender visits in the market or the places, then the people sees that persons in a different angle, okay. So these type of social discrimination is still existing, and if it was legalized in India, so that type of societal discrimination may have ended in the coming times. So that is the argument which was described. So we will be now talking about the negative arguments and its counter. So first of all, lack of public support. Like in India, we have the population of 142 crore, and when we talk about the views of these people, so they basically does not support the same-sex marriage because of the culture, traditions, and the behavior that we see, okay. So because of the lack of public support, that's why this is not a favorable thing in the Indian society. That is the one argument. And also remember that this viewpoint, that there is a lack of public support, that will also help the parliament to block the legalization of same-sex marriage from the parliament. That is also the point. And it means that in the coming time, the struggle for the LGBTQ community is going to be existing. So that is the point. And also the second point of criticism is that it is tried at a very root of the family system. Like when we talk about the India's family system, that are the fundamental building block of society. The society is made up of families, okay. So that means if such type of concepts will be coming, that means the family system will get affected, okay. And in the family system, we say that we have the wife and the husband and the child, okay. So that basic building may get affected. But here the a counter argument is that you are talking about a family system, okay, it's good, but the queer community have also the citizenship of India, so they also enjoys the equal citizenship rights, so they also deserve the same right. And also when we talk about giving them the same right, so the rights should not be coming from the society, it should be coming from the democratic nation, it is coming from the constitution that promotes equality. So why are you talking that the right should have a approval from the society? So that is the counter argument raised in this article, okay. Now we are shifting to the again next arguments, like Supreme Court, via not interfering in the legalization of this issue, they followed the separation of power. Okay, so when we talk about the separation of power, so here Supreme Court followed judicial restraint and also left the matter to the parliament to decide the legislation. Okay, but here the post counter argument is that it is not about the separation of power. It is basically how you are able to interpret the statute or the provisions of the constitution or the laws. Okay, and remember that when we talk about the lawyers, okay, or the lay persons, basically they may interpret the statute or the law in a different way, and this is like their art, this is their simple work, and they can mold the statute and the discussions based on their interests. So it depends on the creative interpretation from the judiciary, and if they want it, then they may interpret the provisions in the favor of the fundamental rights for the LGBTQ community. So that is the point. Okay, now we have the next argument, Indian marriage is sacrosanct. Okay, and when we talk about Indian marriage is sacrosanct, and they are based on the mixture of common laws and religion. So this is one of the argument that is given, but the post counter argument says that yes, we do understand that the Indian marriage is sacrosanct, but now the sacrosanct principle is lacking, because this was existed in earlier times, but now it has been stopped. Why it has been stopped? Because the concept of divorce has been introduced. So if the concept of divorce has been introduced, then how it can be sacrosanct? The marriage can basically diluted after divorce. So that is the point. Okay, one another point you should understand, like in the Sabrimala case, the Supreme Court itself said that the religion must give way to the constitutional morality. Now what do you mean by constitutional morality? Constitutional morality simply means the establishment of the constitutional values and the principles and the provisions which has been mentioned in the constitution. So here comes a debate between constitutional morality versus religious morality or the social morality. So in social morality, basically we try to establish the principles of the society. So there can be the conflict of interest between the constitutional morality and the social and the religious morality. So here we are seeing that conflict. But in the Sabrimala case, what the Supreme Court said? Supreme Court said that the religion must give way to the constitutional morality, meaning establishment of the principle of constitution. So here the Supreme Court may do have adopted the principle of constitutional morality here. That is the principle. Okay, and now the next argument regarding the same-sex marriage in disfavor is that marriage law in India necessitate procreations. Procreations means the birth of the child. When a couple gets married, then they have a family by having children. Okay, so that is the point in India. So that will go against the legalization of same-sex marriage, will go against this the idea. Okay, but here the counter argument says that even when a couple gets married, but many of the couples we have seen that they does not procreate, they does not give birth to the child. So does their marriage rights get eliminated? No. So why we are ignoring the LGBTQ community? Okay, so that is the point. And when we talk about when the couple does not procreate, that is known as the social or the circumstantial infertility. Okay, that arises due to some circumstances. So that is the point. And now when we talk about other arguments, like marriage and family are facing evolutionary challenges. So what do you mean by evolutionary challenges? Evolutionary challenges, like we know that society is evolutionary in nature. They basically evolve with respect to the time. They try to adopt the changes. Okay, so that is the point. And there was a conventional concept of marriage. What do you mean by conventional concept of marriage? Like we have the wife, we have the husband, we have the children. That is the point. Okay, but nowadays we are seeing that this concept, this traditional concept is changing, and the family is facing evolutionary challenges. And in this new form of marriage, which are non heterosexual, so the idea is that they are not new. Okay, they are existing. Like we take the example of Hijra Gharana system or the Maitri Karar system. Okay, so these were existing since a long time, so these are not a new concept that needs to be recognized. Okay, so basically when we talk about marriage, it is a social institution and having the legal requirement. And one more point that is argued, like it is a matter of individual choice to whom you choose to marry. Okay, and that should be protected by the constitution and should not be restricted to a statutory limitations, limiting their rights by the making laws. Okay, so there is a suggestion that government should form a committee to decide the rights and entitlements of the queer couple. So that is the point, and hope you understood. And when we talk about our marriage system, so our marriage system do reflect the caste hierarchy. Okay, and in the caste hierarchy we do seize the issue of discrimination and the segregation. Okay, so we know that in our marriage system there is a fault. Okay, and despite that the marriage is given the very due importance. Okay, for the filing the taxes jointly or inheriting the property or opening of the bank accounts. Okay, so that should not be there. And also the queer people now have to wait, basically. And the notions of family and traditions needs to be broadened, and notions of acceptability and respectability be demolished. What do you mean by notions of acceptability and respectability? It is meaning that if society does not accept, then that the matter should not be brought. Okay, that the right should not be brought, so that needs to be go out. And that's why the legal recognition of queerness and love should not be opposed by the state in the name of separation of the papa. That is the important conclusion you need to understand. So here we have discussed some of the arguments in favor, some of the arguments in disfavor, along with the counter arguments. Hope you understood the article in detail. Now we are shifting to the another article, that is the article 2, covered under GS paper uh, uh, 3. It will be covered under GS paper 3. Okay, because this is related to the conservation, environmental, pollution and degradation. Okay, so basically recently what happened, the SDG summit, sustainable development goals summit, was basically concluded in New York on September 18 and 19. Okay, so in this meeting there was an important highlight that the world is basically lacking in the progress to achieve the sustainable development goals. And you can understand from the fact, and you can also quote the fact, like they recognize that world was on the track to meet only 15% of its 169 targets. Okay, and these 169 targets comes under 17 goals. So remember, SDG goals meaning sustainable development goals, and they are need to be achieved by 2030, and it has 17 goals, and the 17 goals has been defined into various targets, and we have total 169 targets. And the data says that we are only on the track to meet only 15% of all the targets. So that is the important point, and maybe if that system goes on, then we will be unable to achieve our targets. Okay, even we will be not able to achieve the 50% of the targets as well by 2030, because we have now only approx 6 years. Okay, 6 years left, so you can understand that. But the summit members also committed that there is a need to have a stimulus, so that we can increase the progress, and they committed that they will be giving the $500 billion stimulus annually, okay, specifically to the needs of the developing countries, okay, because these type of the issues which are mentioned in the goals of the SDG are faced by least developed countries and the developing countries, we know that, okay. So that is the point. But this is a definitely welcome idea, but this is also a dialogue bazi. Why dialogue bazi? Because first of all, the fund which has been talked about, like $500 billion, okay, on an annual basis, so that fund is not sufficient. Why not sufficient? Because based on the data, a 2023 report by the UNTAD stands for United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, they estimated that investment gap in SDG in the developing country is greater than $4 trillion, and we are talking about only $500 billion, okay. That means there is huge gap. And if the developing country wants transition, specifically to the energy transition, okay, from the fossil fuel to the greener cleaner energy, then they require nearly $2 trillion. So that means the fund which has been proposed is insufficient, okay. Hence the estimated sum of investment required by specialized agency seems unachievable, okay. So now comes to the topic how to effectively achieve the SDG goal, how we can achieve it. So first of all, you need to understand what do you mean by synergy. Synergy term and stands for the collaboration, the cooperation, okay. When we talk about SDG goal number one achievement, zero poverty. So when we talk about zero poverty, if we are able to deal with the reducing in poverty, that means the other goals directly or indirectly is improving. Like when we talk about zero poverty, so that means that the hunger, okay, hunger may be reduced in the coming time. So there is interlinkages of the SDG goals. So what we are promoting the goals, that means other goals will also be promoted indirectly. So that means the synergy or the collaboration, okay. The SDG goals are indivisible and integrated in nature, and their contribution to the three pillars of the sustainable development. Now we are asking you the question, what do you mean by the three pillars of sustainable development? Kindly do mention this into the comment box. If you do not know, please do search in the Google and then try to answer. That will help you to basically recall your concepts, okay. And also a lot of academic literature also focus that synergy and trade-off that exist in the pursuit of a specific SDG goals, okay. So we need to have a synergistic approach, and there are certain dyssynergy which has been identified along the value chain of an SDG intervention, and these are arising from like resource allocation, creation of enabling environment, co-benefits, co-effectiveness, and saturation limits. Okay, so basically to establish synergy, we take an example of synergy when we talk about the promotion of renewable energy in India. So why we are promoting renewable energy? We have the energy needs, okay, so we are promoting so that domestic energy becomes sufficient so that we can reduce the import, okay. And along with dealing with the air pollution, and also our climatic commitment that we have done in the past, like the Paris climate, other climates we are doing on, okay. So we are focusing on this. That's why we are basically promoting renewable energy. But when we talk about synergy, that means Indian government here is lacking in the establishment of proper synergy, because if even the government, apart from these three goals, if they did have focus on the health benefits that may arise from the lower air pollution, that means the focus on renewable energy was getting much greater importance, okay. So there may have got the greater incentives for the renewable energy promotion, but that was not the case, okay. So what is the need? There is a need that our ambitious renewable energy target themselves becomes a barrier for the small scale applications because of misalignment of deliveries, okay. And example has been given, when the energy department has target in gigawatt, the primary health centers has needs in kilowatts, meaning they require less energy, and we are focusing on establishment of bigger targets, like establishing bigger plants, okay, but we are not focusing at the level of macro or the macro level, okay. So that is the point. That's why there is a neglect in the energization, okay. And if there is a neglect, that means the synergy has not been established. So simply recognizing interlinks, that there is a interlink between the SDG goals, but there will be, if not a robust analysis and understanding of the institutional barriers, that means the outcome or the goal achievement will not be going to become in the coming years. So India needs both assessment as well as addressing the barriers identified in the UN report. So what do you mean by the conclusion here? So conclusion is that we need to promote synergy, because this will strengthen the environment for the synergistic action, and also it will ensure the transparency in both the opportunities of the collaboration, as well as the limits to synergize arising from the SDG interventions, okay. And also there is a need, we should decrease the investment in high carbon based projects, and it will decrease our ability to achieve our energy and the climate goals. So investing in clean energy options could have a significant synergistic impact on air pollution and human health. That is the importance of synergy here. So you should understand the basic idea, okay. So you can quote that basically a lack of synergy is one of the important issues that are causing delay in the achievement of SDG goals, okay. So if any question asks you about the suggestion, please do suggest that we should promote synergy, okay, between the SDG goals, so that there will be major focus on these goals for the achievement, for the accomplishment. So that is the idea of the article. Hope you understood. Now we are shifting to the next topic, that is the algal bloom. You may have heard this idea, this concept in the ecology. What do you mean by algal bloom? Suppose there is a lake, okay, and there is a water here, and marine species like fishes and other species are living here. But let's say basically on the sides of the lake there is agricultural land, okay, all are surrounded by agricultural land. So let's say that there is a rainfall or there is a excessive irrigation. So what will happen, that the soil, the nutrients of the surrounding agriculture region will start coming towards this lake, and suddenly there will be increase in the nutrients in the lake. And what will happen, if there is an increase in the nutrients, the algae now will like accept this nutrients and try to basically dominate in the lake. And that is the cause of algal bloom, when the basically number of algae becomes suddenly rising. And this is not a good basically for the perspective of the marine species, because they may decrease the they may decrease the incidence of sunlight, and that may cause the death of the marine species. So this is not a good idea. And also, why I am discussing the context, it is all because the sea along the Puducherry turned red, okay. And this basically alarmed the residents, that why this happened, okay. So based on the analysis, they identified that the reddish color of the sea is all because of the algal bloom, and it is all because that the nutrients in the water was on a sudden rise, okay. So that's why the algae here got proliferated, and that is the point. And here there is also concept of eutherification. Eutherification is basically the process where the nutrients basically suddenly increase in the lake, and because of the increase in nutrients, sudden boom of the algae do happens. This blocks the sunlight, and ultimately basically there is a basically death of the various marine species, and this lake leads to the aging of the lakes, okay. So this is the eutrophication. So now we are coming to the last article, that is India's manned mission on the moon by 2040. So basically, we have launched Chandrayaan 3, Chandrayaan 2, Chandrayaan 1. Okay, we have also launched Aditya L1. We are now also planning to launch Sukriyaan. Okay, so various projects are on the basically in the pending state that will be basically handled in the coming times. But now India's space sector is growing much bigger. Now they are thinking about the interplanetary missions, meaning the missions to another planet. Okay, so now as the various developed country like US, China, they are focusing on sending the manned mission to other planet, to the moon. Now India will not be like remaining back, so they will also be following the leading role in these type of missions. That's why the Prime Minister of India directed the ISRO that you should work on a mission to land man on the moon by 2040, and also to work towards interplanetary mission. So that is the point, and you need to understand that our research and the space sector is going to have a bigger boost in the coming times, and that will also lead to the recognition of our space agency at the global level, like various space agency do are recognizing, and that will promote the commercial basically activities like ascending satellites of different nations, and that will also bring the good amount of forex reserve in India. That is also the point. So that's why analyze this idea, this developments in different dimensions. So that is the point, friends. Hope you understood all these articles. Now the solution of the prelims question is basically option C. And why option C? Because when we talk about a statement 1, marsupials are not naturally found in India. Yes, marsupials are not naturally found. They are found in Australia, okay, and they are living relatively on the drier region. Okay, that is the point. And marsupials ka example, like we have the kangaroo. Can you give me the other examples of marsupials? Okay, they carry the younger ones in their pouch. Okay, that is this is a marsupials kangaroo, and they are carrying their younger ones in the pouch. So that is the point. And when we talk about a statement 2, marsupials can thrive only in the mountain grasslands with no predators. This is the extreme statement UPSC did had asked, like can thrive only in the mountains. No, they can thrive in a relatively drier climatic region. We have seen, like in Australia, we have the drier climatic region in the western part. Okay, so that is the wrong statement. So the correct statement is C. Statement 1 is correct and statement 2 is incorrect. So you are seeing that the dimension of question UPSC is asking. So friends, hope you enjoyed the article, and now we are ending our session. And please, if you liked our lecture series, then share, subscribe, and promote into your circle. Thank you, friends. Thank you very much. We will meet again in the next lecture series.